Latest UN-backed IPC report warns that the crisis could soon spread to other areas, including Deir, al-Balah and Khan Younis. According to the report, acute malnutrition has reached alarming levels, with more than 1 in 4 children in Gaza City now malnourished. Oxfam says the famine is being driven by Israel's near total blockade of food and humanitarian aid, leaving millions of civilians, especially mothers, children and the elderly, on the brink of starvation. To help us understand what's happening on the ground, we're joined by Ghada Al Haddad, Oxfam's Media and Communications Officer in Gaza. Ghada, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. How are you?
Thank you so much for hosting me. I'm okay, but not really. Yeah.
Can you give us a sense
Uh,
of what the latest IPC report reveals about the famine in Gaza and just how severe the situation is right now?
yeah, as you just said, the IPC report has confirmed that famine is in Gaza City, and there are also warning that it would expand to other cities in Deir al-Balah and Khan Younis. We have been warning that famine is was imminent. We have been telling people all over the world that famine is imminent in different parts of the Gaza Strip. Despite our warning and despite all INGOs and humanitarian actors warnings, Israel continued its campaign of relentless bombardment and airstrikes, and they have been starving the Palestinians again and again. Since the beginning of the war, we've seen how Israel has used starvation as a weapon of war. They blocked the entry of most aids into the Gaza Strip, which deprived the Palestinians of their basic and fundamental human rights, which is food. And you can imagine, we've seen children starving to death. We've seen children dying out of starvation. And this is actually shocking that we are living in 2025 and we've seen a state like Israel is starving other civilian people and other children and mothers and so on. And it is also scary that despite all these warnings, Israel is still continuing its bombardment, its airstrikes and its artillery shells against the Palestinian, and it is also continuing the near total blockade of food and vital aid, and which lead to horrifying consequences on the ground. You can imagine that we at Oxfam have aids worth of $2.5 million of essential aids like food parcels, like water tanks, like hygiene kits, menstrual supplies, all of this. And has been sitting in our warehouses in neighboring countries, and we cannot get it into here. And we've seen that people are in dire need of such aids, and they do not allow us to bring it here and to help the people who are in dire need of such things. So technically what we are seeing eventually, it is more deprivation of the Palestinians who have been starved, who have been living under constant bombardment all day and all night.
The report that also mentions that people are risking their lives just to find food and even being shot at near distribution centers. How widespread is this problem?
This is really shocking because Israel has starved the Palestinians, and then they created what is called Gaza distribution sites, and they try to bypass the humanitarian system that has been led by UN agencies and other INGOs. But they have set a dangerous set up where they, as they were like responsible for such distribution sites. most of the people, we have also warned against this because this is also a breach of the humanitarian international law. You cannot let a party to the conflict lead or be responsible for aid distribution. Israel instead, according to the international humanitarian law, should be responsible or is obliged to facilitate the entry and the distribution of aids. But we've seen Israel is blocking the entry and blocking the distribution of aids among the people who are in dire need. And instead of the 400 distribution sites that were run by the UN agencies during the ceasefire, Israel replaced them with these distribution sites where people go there, travel for miles and miles to Rafah city at the southernmost of the Gaza Strip in order to get some food items. They are getting these food items at the gunpoint of Israeli soldiers. I have honestly heard many stories of people who have been shot while receiving the aids. You can imagine a humanitarian or claiming to be a humanitarian organization, but at the same time killing the Palestinians, and that's why it is not, humanitarian system. This is not a humanitarian system. We all know that a humanitarian system causes no harm to its beneficiaries, but we have seen how these distribution sites are killing the Palestinians again and again, and deliberately and intentionally. And people said when we go there, we have to crawl because they cannot walk, because if they walk or if they stand up, they're going to be shot by the Israeli soldiers there. A man told me, I know that the distribution sites is opened when the Israeli tanks stop shooting. So you can imagine. So the sign for the opening or the closure of these distribution sites is whether the Israeli tanks stop shelling or do not stop shelling. And we have seen how these distribution sites have been created on a militarized zone, and where in Rafah city, it is a no-go zone, and it has been wiped out, and most of the city buildings have been reduced to rubble, and then they created these distribution sites. People go there at gunshot. We have seen reports from the UN agencies where they reported that almost 1,000 people have been killed at the premises or the vicinity of these distribution sites. This is dangerous. This is shocking because, as I said, humanitarian system do not kill. This is not a humanitarian system. This is deliberately to kill the Palestinian, to displace them, to starve them.
As Oxfam, you've called for a ceasefire and a full lifting of the blockade. What is your message to world leaders and the international community?
Like my message for the world leader, we're done with mere statements. We're done with condemnation. We need actual things on the ground. We need a full permanent ceasefire. Honestly, this is everyone's hope and wish on the ground in Gaza. I mean, we've been living under this genocide for over 22 months. Most of the buildings in Gaza have been reduced to rubble. Most of the people in Gaza have been exhausted and tired. Most of the people in Gaza are homeless right now. They have lost their shelters. Children have lost their school years. They have lost their childhood. Most of the children thoughts right now, do we have food? Do we have water? Can I take shower? No, you can't take shower because there is no water. Can I go to school? There is no school because most of the schools have turned into rubble, or they have turned into shelters for those homeless people. Everyone's wish right now is a full and a permanent ceasefire. We are exhausted. Right now, I'm talking to you, and the Israeli drones are hovering over my head, and they are buzzing all day, all night. They have never left the skies. Right now, I'm talking to you. A couple of hours ago, there was a couple of airstrikes in the eastern parts of Deir al-Balah, and I have heard them. This has become a norm, and this is not the norm that I wanted to live in. We need peace. And what I wanted from the world leaders is to pressure Israel to stop its genocide on the Gaza Strip and to call for accountability for all those who created such chaos in Gaza, I mean, yeah, I mean, such chaos in Gaza, and to lift all the borders and to open all the corridors so that all the humanitarian supplies can be allowed into the Gaza Strip, and we can help the Palestinians. We can reconstruct our homes, we can reconstruct our schools, and like have again a sense of normalcy that we are all desperate for.
Gaza, we're going to leave it there for now, for today. Thank you so much for your insights. And it paints a very grim picture, but we need to have this conversation. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Ghada Al Haddad is Oxfam's Media and Communications Officer in Gaza, speaking to us about the worsening famine crisis as highlighted in the latest IPC report. It's 10:30 Central African time. Let's say good morning to Onel Nzinzi with news headlines.